Mm.
All right, welcome everyone. So excited to be with you guys today, especially excited. This is the first interview we're doing in the new year, and I'm most excited because I actually have my dad with me today. So, hey, Dad,
Well,
welcome.
good afternoon, Ty. Good afternoon,
Yes.
son.
So, really excited. Someone, obviously, as my dad, someone that I know really well. Um, and I would say someone that's been, really influential in my life. So excited because what we're going to talk about today is ways to handle that stress better and really get out like that passion for life. And I think, my dad is Steve Moe, and he has a really, really good, the like a really good example of that I have always appreciated from you, Dad. So welcome today. And I see Geraldine, she is just commenting there. So welcome, Geraldine. Glad you can join us over your lunch break. And if you're watching the interview, definitely feel free to chime in with any questions or comments as we go along here, and we'll make sure to respond to those. So for those of you who don't know my dad, Steve is the owner of Moe Song, so he's been in bodywork and breathwork for over 20 years now, which is pretty cool to say. I remember back when I was like in junior high, and you're learning new things and practicing with my sister and I. So it was cool to see fun to see that evolution over the years. So not only has he been practicing with individuals for over 20 years, but he's been training in breathwork since 1999. He's a member of the International Breathwork Foundation, and he's been done actually a lot of training. So it's always fun to hear. Usually once a year he'll be going over, a lot of times it's in Europe, somewhere in a different country, doing Breathwork Training Foundation with the Global Inspiration Conference, but just those different trainings. So thanks for being here, Dad.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for having me, Ty.
Yeah.
And there's a piece I want to add. There's, Ty and I spoke about, well, how do we address each other? And there's a piece that I really love, because some of my passions, as I know yours are, is how can we take this stuff into everyday life? And so sometimes if I, give a litany of experiences, I've been to all these countries and worked with all these people and all this, it's like, well, what does that mean to somebody right here and now today? And so it's meaningful for me to share this with you because we've spent some time together and then some ordinary life. We've had challenges in ordinary life, and so just as you shared about me, I share with you that the delight to see you in the gifts you share in this everyday practical way to people.
Yeah.
So
well, thanks,
yeah.
Dad.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
and that's what we're going to talk about today. Is we're halfway through January, and a lot of people are setting different, maybe it's not even a New Year's resolution, but different ways. A lot of times we find is people want to handle stress better. They want to slow down, become more present, and really enjoy whatever the moment is. And I think that's what you're such an expert in, Dad, is whatever we're doing, you're always like the most excited and the most ready to go and ready to be there. So that's what we want to talk about today, is how can you slow down and really enjoy the moment no matter what it is, and really be fully present and bring that zest and that passion to life. So I guess I'm curious, maybe to start with, is how, because I've observed that perspective from you for so long. So how do you feel that what kind of is your perspective on life or outlook that helps you take such a excitement towards life?
Let me back that up
Sure.
one more step too, and then come into that. And sometimes when I would say to somebody, well, I'm a breath worker, they'd say, well, I got that covered. I'm breathing, so I don't need to spend any more time with you. So one thing, what is our breath? What is breathing? And so one of the foundational aspects here is this idea that our breath and how we breathe really represents our relationship with life. So if I feel there isn't enough, I'm going to be really restricted on my inhale. And how many tired moms know this breath? I'll just do it. There's nobody there to help me or relieve me. How many dads know this breath? okay, we're going to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Don't anybody cry. And I'm stereotyping here, but sometimes that can be useful to connect, okay? So our breath represents our relationship with life. Our breathing represents our relationship with life. We don't have to go into that any more complicated than just to, we can observe that pretty simply. So breath work is coming in and offering some choices, a bit of training, a bit of experiential stuff. If I change my breathing, it changes my relationship with life. I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to pinpoint this or that. But when I'm feeling like, there's just no solution here, there's just no help, and if I just take it might even hurt, but I take a couple of conscious breaths, and then it's like, So that kind of comes back to that thing about being in that moment and being hopeful and alive and all of that in a specific moment. And of course, we're all challenged. One of the beauties again of the professional training as a breath worker is we learn about our own personal self first. That's number one. We learn about ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a way that, I can more deeply connect now with humanity. I can more deeply connect with people and their challenges, even if I haven't really directly, personally experienced those.
And so you're saying in a situation like that is you're changing your own perspective. I think sometimes, when you're talking about the stress or the overwhelm, it's easy to look on the outside and say, if my kids behave, if I didn't have to go to work, the outside piece. But we know that we can only control that so far. Right?
Yes.
So if we do, the nice thing about breath is it's something we have control over that we could do to shift our internal state. And suddenly the external state, even though it might be the exact same on the outside, you perceive it different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent words and description around that, Ty. And the other thing that happens is, again, let's say we train somebody in breath work, and how does that work personally? And where it works is again right in that moment. So there's all that stuff happening, right? Just that chaos and this and that and everything else. And remembering, of course, that chaos and stress is a totally different picture and definition from one person to the next, And so all that's happening. Now, if I start, stop, don't go, come on, just everybody, just calm down. Just, right away, right? We set up that back and forth. Now that intensity increases and on a nonverbal level, not even an intellectual level, now that response comes back to you in that holding, in that tense, just all of that. Mm-hmm. Now, despite all that happening, if we just kind of, and I don't even have to change, I don't have to, hold my index finger here and do that and change my thought and think of a bubbling brook or all that other. I just, just a few breaths, And even that sometimes, how about just making it one thing, not even the full breath. Just say, okay, just a couple exhales. Just that right away, that message to our body, to our mind, to our heart, to our soul changes. Like, oh, okay.
And that's what I like about changing that too is Samantha, my wife, and I talk a lot about mirror neurons. So especially with kids, they're so active of whatever. So the mirror neurons in the brain and what it sees on the outside, it's actually trained to mimic and to imitate. And that's how kids learn how to tie their shoes or use their fork or all these different things. So if, as a parent especially, if you feel that tension building, like my dad was showing, and all your child's doing is looking at you, and he's like, well, I guess that's what we do. Right? And then all of a sudden, now they become a little more stressed and tight, and especially like we talk about that fluidity and that give and take and flowing with the moment instead of becoming rigid or defiant or having a meltdown or, you know, being like, I want it this way as a kid. Well, if they see that rigidity in your body, their mirror neuron is actually just neurologically going to make it happen.
Yeah. One of the ways I like to describe it, Ty, is if you imagine the cells of our body or the organs of our body being like that child, especially the child that's pre-verbal or working with language, what's our body going to respond to? Is it going to respond to the word relax? Is it going to respond to the word it's okay or this will pass? No, not so much. Especially because usually the energy that goes into the word relax in that moment is just relax. And so, in fact, it's that little child, that pre-verbal child. In fact, it's suggested sometimes that's when that split happens, where the child becomes puzzled. And then, a lot more significant than that. But the child has been reading your body language. In the womb of the mother, it's been feeling things energetically. It's been reading your body language, and your words mean nothing. It's been reading your body language for all these years. Now there's words that are coming out that say, I love you, or relax. And they're taught, I love you means this. They're taught, relax means this. It's okay means that. But your body isn't sending those messages. Now the child is like, whoa. So think of our cells, the cells in our body, the organs in our body that same way. The language they understand is that breath. And now the cells go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And yeah, it may not put the fires out. The thing is, when we do that, again, our world starts to reflect that back to us, whether it's the child or whether it's another situation, whether it's a random person that we're, dealing with an issue with or anything like that. That reflects back to us, it helps us get clearer then to see what a solution is. It helps us get clear, now we're more focused, we're grounded, we're in this moment. Okay, I don't have to think up something, that I learned last week or this or that or blah, blah, blah. It just, some clarity comes.
Right, yeah. And that's one thing that I think is so fascinating about the breath is it's one of the things in the body that is going automatically when we're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then when we do think about it, we can actually change it. And that's what we see, when we're working with people and observing and we're looking at different stressful breath patterns. And we realize that a lot of times, like you're describing, when a stress comes at us, if we're not working with being fluid with it, it kind of almost, it's like it grabs us. And the breathing starts to become more rigid, and we'll see people who have left that stressful situation, but their breathing is still holding on to the pattern. Still reacting in that manner. Exactly. So do you have any kind of simple ways then to look at that to say, okay, if you've gotten into this unconscious, stuck stress breathing pattern, I know you started talking a little bit about an inhale versus an exhale. Are there other, aside from just conscious breathing, or is that enough, ways to start to change this pattern into more relaxed, more ease?
If a person would choose to work with a professional breath worker over a series of sessions or things like that, what happens then is that there's a more intimate and more personal give and take. Then there's oftentimes identification of some, this is a long-held belief of mine based on this event or these events in my life, and now I feel unsafe even when I am safe. We see that a lot in intimate relationships. My first intimate relationship wasn't safe, or one of my first ones, And now, even though I'm with a spouse or a partner and completely safe and loved, my body response is quite innate to feeling unsafe or uncertain. But coming back to, what could be more in the here and now, even without that. I mean, of course, that just like, working with any health professional, a chiropractor, massage, breath worker, a lot of that can be really, really beneficial. And what's going to work here and now, and sometimes what's within my means. And so one of the simplest things would be can you start each day with just like 3 conscious connected breaths or 10 breaths? Sometimes 10, if you take 10 conscious connected breaths, and by conscious connected, I mean, as you spoke about, Ty, you're actually changing your breathing. Go through the nose. Conscious breath, connected. Inhale, exhale, connected without a pause. Okay. That doesn't give the no pause then you don't have space for the thoughts and the worries and the concerns, all that other to come in. You're just okay. So if you just start each day with 3 of those, or like I was going to say, sometimes I'm trying to count to 10, and it's like, no, you can't do 3 and then think about something and then do 2 more and then you got to do 10.
I know sometimes stepping outside or like about to leave my house for the day and just sitting down and trying to do a few breaths to center myself. It's crazy how tough it can be.
Isn't it though? Yes.
Like you said, to get to 10 is kind of tricky sometimes. So I think that's a good point of just starting with 3.
Yes.
In, out, without the pause, and then say, okay, good. I've got 1 step of groundedness for the day.
Yes.
Okay. What are some other things?
Sometimes it depends, of course, on your life situation, but sometimes maybe if you have some music that you can put on a 2 or 3 minute song or something like that. So you've got a distinct beginning and an end. And again, just starting with 3. And that helps recenter the body, because you talk about that in chiropractic as well. What's the body naturally drawn to? It's that harmony. It's that, that's its natural state. So its natural state is that easy, full breathing, easy, free, and full breathing. And so just 3 the body can go, oh yeah, that's what that feels like. Because sometimes somebody might have 30 years under their belt with never having experienced a nice, free, and full breath. So,
and I like the idea of a song too, because I think part of that is to take the conscious, the worry part of the brain or the tracking part of the brain out of it. So it's like, all right, I'm at 9. If I pay attention till 10, I get to be done. And then like, But if you have the song, your brain's just like, oh, well, once the music stops, I'll be done. And it can let go a little bit more. Okay. How about during the day then? Because I could see if you're kind of resetting these patterns, you're giving your body, your brain a moment of, oh, this is what that deep, conscious, relaxed breath feels like. And then as the stresses come it might start to shift again. Anything you recommend during the day?
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that's what I was going to go to next.
Okay.
If you think about practice, it's like, well, it said, well, you should meditate an hour every day and maybe twice a day, and then you should do this and that and this and that, and do your yoga and your exercises and your conscious eating and your conscious teeth flossing and the danger there, of course, is the frustration that can create in people's lives. You go to the grocery store and you see the magazines, it says Selfcare, and it's the perfect health 30-something, right, sitting on the couch drinking their organic tea with their organic cotton clothes on. And it's like, but I never, ever have a moment like that. So yeah, what happens during the day? So again, maybe just those 3 breaths. Okay, I'm going to have a interaction with somebody. Maybe it's my own family. Maybe it's I'm going to go wake up the kids now. Maybe it's, I'm going to go pick up the kids. Maybe it's, I'm going to go pick up my partner. Maybe it's, okay, we got to talk about the car, or we got to talk about this situation. Again, just doing those 3 breaths before that interaction starts. What'll happen, folks, is that sometimes a person will come in, have a session, and then report back to me that they've been breathing worse than they ever have in their life. And I go, good. Things are happening. What's happening is they're noticing their breath. And so what again, these 3 breaths here and there can do, sooner and sooner, faster and faster, you're going to notice when you're not breathing. You're going to go, oh my gosh, I just had that fight with my child, or I just had that fight with this or that. I wasn't breathing. And sooner and sooner you're going to notice that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That's what we talk a lot about with the parents especially, but even as adults, that if you're getting adjusted on a consistent basis, you're kind of giving your body this reset of what more harmony, more ease, more peace, more calm feels like in the body. So then when you have that as a reset point, when you get off track, pretty soon, instead of being way off track and saying, oh man, I gotta get back on, like you start to notice, like, oh, it was just like I noticed a little tension, or I saw a coworker walk by, or I saw my child about to knock something off the desk, whatever it is. Like you notice a little bit, and you can sense that change in your body and get back online more quickly. Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my, and I guess it's kind of going back to what I said at the beginning in this, this conversation with you, is one of my passions always is, how can this fit into everyday life for folks that just want to be engaged in life? And so always, looking for those moments here and there. And again, I think, for here and now, let's just stay with the 3 breaths or a song or something like that. And lots of other possibilities and nuances to work with and all that. I think so often too that, that thing self-care, again, just sometimes just hearing those words makes people tense and because of all the judgment around that and what that's supposed to look like. And what if self-care meant, so you're a busy family, your life is full. What if self-care just meant you got to go to bed at night alive? And, it's a totally different thing in different eras in one's life. It's just so different. And so, be gentle on yourself with what that version of self-care means. Just pay attention to your own body, your own breathing, and what self-care really is for you will show up.
Yeah, I think that's so important. As you, I think as we get more wound up or more stressed, it's easy then when you're in kind of that fight or flight stress response to not connect to yourself. So then you are looking at the magazine and the grocery aisle, or you're looking at all the things scrolling through Facebook of everyone else's goals for the year, the great workouts they just had, or like you said, all the things that they're doing, and you just look outside yourself. You start to put that as your priority, even though you've never connected yourself to see, well, what do I really need to be fulfilled and happy? Yes.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I saw recently, because I've been really giving myself permission in this month of January. I don't know if everybody else has, but I've been giving myself permission just to say, it's January. And so it's time to rest a lot, to be quiet, to be in the dark. It's not the time to get wild about resolutions. And I saw a humorous thing about that, about, I think January is just a test month. And then February 1st, I'm going to say, I'll do it. I'll do this year. And, but, part of the self-care thing, I think, too, is honoring our really that those inner rhythms that are true to us, based on, like I talked about family, honoring those rhythms of that busy family, not going, well, okay, now we're going to have an hour of quiet time, blah, 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 Okay, just honoring those rhythms and what those children need to do and what your spouse needs to do and all of that. And honoring the rhythms that surround you, the light of the day and things like that. And,
I think
so
especially with family, because you can't predict what your child's going to do or when they're going to want to be more cooperative than another time. And the more rigid sometimes you try to hold a structure, I think it's good, to teach children some boundaries or some rhythms and routines, but when the rhythm or the routine gets off, how you can flow with it and redirect it rather than force it back online.
Mm-hmm. If I think of the feedback that we get a lot of times, or, some of our teachers through observation, observing them, are children and dogs. Mm-hmm. And that idea, like a dog that doesn't know the meaning of a word. If I say bad dog or walk, do you want to go for? It's if I say walk.
It's
so
a tone.
It's they feel that, and so I always imagine the children again feel those rhythms more than sometimes we give ourselves permission to, and so to be sometimes your self-care as a parent might be to honor that, to and just go, well, okay, it's time to be still, or well, okay, let's let the kid be pretty expressive right now. And again, you take your 3 breaths, and it works, and it can help. It can help your own body.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great summary, and the simplicity of it, I think, as we're kind of wrapping up here with the idea that health and self-care and stress management, all these things could be lists of 50 things long, but just lead to more stress and more confusion when you haven't started at that core and starting with yourself and having those 3 connected conscious breaths is such a simple way to recenter yourself. And like you said, that's our natural state. So if you can do something simple to move toward that natural state, then everything else just opens up, and give you as a parent some permission to not put so much pressure on yourself.
Yes. One piece very quickly, because I use the term a lot too, and I always look at that. But take a breath. Take a breath. We hear that a lot. Okay. Again, what's our body's natural tendency is just to breathe. Okay, so if we can soften and quiet our body, the breath will happen. We don't have to take a breath. The breath will happen. And so again, with your 3 breaths, with other time here and there, it's just like, oh, guess what? If I sit and soften just for a minute or two, the breathing will happen. It'll be unimpeded. And of course, that's the delicious breath, almost like you're being breathed. And so that's, so even paying attention to the language around that. So I'm just going to sit and be breathed for a bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dad. I'm so glad that we got to connect today. I will put your info in the comments section for this, so if people want to reach out, they know how to get a hold of you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Do you prefer email, Facebook?
Phone, we've got Mosong has a Facebook page, a website, so whatever works. We got a phone number that we can receive texts on both, and and our work is both. We do a weekly breath work here, so it's very local. But we also, I do work around the world, do work internationally, and our trainings draw people from all over the world. So we had a 5-day training coming up this summer that would be worth the travel no matter where you are.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks so much, Dad.
Thank you, Ty.
I'll stay connected here with you as we wrap up. And
Okay.
everyone watching, thanks so much for joining us today. Reach out with any questions, and just remember that, when you can start with yourself, that's all that you need to really start the process, and give yourself permission to start there. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.